We were getting that building.
Nice.
Yeah, I got it.
Oh,
Sarah,
I saw you the other day down there. I was gonna ask you. It's a surprise. It's a surprise.
No,
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Ross Gregerson, present.
Neil Duncton, present.
Harold Merritt, present.
Marty Woodby, present.
Denny Bastrop.
Okay, thank you. We had a month ago an issue with the standby fees, and we have turned that over to our legal counsel, and he hasn't responded as yet. I've talked to him about it, and he said he's working on it. So Ben is in the process of doing that. I was hoping we'd have it ready for tonight, but we do not. Those people that are involved, we're going to try to make phone calls when we get it, but it should be here as soon as they get through with it. Number 3, engineering. Rob Mills, do you have anything you'd share?
Thank you. So the focus of late has been the Canaan Springs on a couple of fronts. We have the water rights that we're finalizing the paperwork on the conveyance to make all of that, make sure all the paperwork follows it chases all the way down through the water rights and all that from the purchase that we made. So we've got a little bit left to do on that in terms of submitting some things to the state, but that's essentially done. So I'll be working with Tanya. The state has an application fee that I need to get for those, but so the first part of next week we'll conclude that. And then the other thing that I've been working on is the Canaan grant and loan process with USDA. So at this point, we're still just filing the paperwork. I have a little part of the preliminary engineering report that I've got to complete in order to submit. USDA requires a environmental and a preliminary engineering report before you can actually file the application. We're just at the tail end of that preliminary stuff so that we can actually file a formal application. So I'm hoping to get that done just literally within the next week or so, and then we'll start to see where the numbers really shake out. But I've done some analysis just based on the discussions we've had, and it still does look good in terms of being able to reduce our debt and actually connect the systems. Of course, from the engineering side, being able to connect the system is a tremendous advantage in terms of redundancy of source, and I'm hoping this. We don't have the final numbers. We won't until the application is actually done. They don't have a process. USDA doesn't use a process like state drinking water does, where you go and show up to a board meeting and they kind of review your application and there's some exchange back and forth and the staff does a report and so on. They just once the paperwork has gotten in, the preliminary paperwork is in and accepted, then the application process just starts as a, sort of as a paperwork train. And so we'll be starting to get feedback on what they actually will do, what they won't do, as soon as that piece is done, and I think that can start we're pre-Christmas for sure. So hopefully by next meeting, I'll have some fairly definitive information about whether that financing will play exactly as we have performed it or not. But I have the current interest rate that they're offering. I have the grant requirements and what the amounts would be there. We have the original estimated cost for the
Can you give us
pipeline.
those numbers?
Sorry?
Can you give us those numbers that you know?
Right now?
Well, you said you have them. I just-
Yeah, I don't have them right in front of me, but I have recently called those guys and updated the information as far as what interest rate is current. My recollection, just to give you some idea, is right, the current interest rate that they're offering on their long-term loans is right around 3%. I think it popped to 3.1 or something like that just recently. And that's a 40-year term. And then we have the estimates for the engineering cost, an engineering estimate for the cost of the connecting pipe. Here again, that's something that we can choose to do depending on the financing, but it does still look like the refinancing of the state loans with USDA still cuts our debt down by around $15,000 a year.
So to kind of cut to the chase, if we went with the refinancing, again, nothing will be disturbed until this deal is a finalized deal, but we would have a $1.3 million pipeline, and at the end of it, that's about $15,000 or $16,000 a year less in payments.
Yeah.
So,
And I've actually had to jack up the cost of the construction of the pipeline a little bit. Construction costs have gone up a fair amount. So my newest estimates are actually at 1.5 million. So that's a 20% increase, which is a bummer. But I think that's more realistic of what we're paying right now. And so the timing of that's going to be critical in terms of just, and it'll be up to you guys, the board, to really determine when to release that and when to go forward with that.
Why do we want to include the current Canaan loan into that? Why do we want to combine this?
So the debt we currently have with the state drinking water is shorter term and has a much lower grant to loan ratio. And so we can fold those into this to this financial package and get a much higher grant to loan ratio. Something approaching 50-50. It's actually 45-55, I think is the current one that we qualify for.
But we're extending that out another 10 years, right?
We are extending the debt out, that is correct.
Plus 2% interest rate, which actually increases our position by $250,000. On that part of it, on that 362,000.
Yes.
Because on that 362, if you include that in there, what you're trying to say is they're going to forgive half of that? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, they're going,
362%?
yes. In essence, the funding package is a 45% grant total and a 55% loan.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And who prepares the financials for that? Do we have a firm doing that on the?
No, the USDA does all the financials once the applications are in.
Right, so in other words, we're not providing them any financials at all?
We have to provide them all sorts of information.
Well, that's what I was asking is
Yeah.
if we're preparing financials, who's preparing the financial statements?
That is not part of my
I was just wondering if you knew, that's all.
I don't.
Is there a firm or Hindenburg do that or anybody know?
the genesis of this, just to back up a little bit, is that we have been trying to figure out a way to get water from Canaan into the million-gallon tank.
Oh, no, I get that part.
And
I'm on board with that.
So the
I was just trying to.
making the sausage here is kind of what's.
And part of that sausage I was just trying to come up with was who was preparing the financial statements that were given to a state agency that says this is how much we're making, this is, you know, what our financial status is. I was just wanting to know who's preparing those. And I'm surprised that we don't have an answer on that.
Well, I personally don't, because I won't be doing that per se.
Oh, no, I know you wouldn't, but I
Yeah.
thought you might know who was, or Harold would, or Tommy's would, or somebody would. Who's preparing financial statements?
We basically approached these people and saying, is this a possibility? And they say yes, so we're in the process.
So we haven't done yet.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we're putting the nuts and the bolts into this thing right now.
Okay.
Ron, one more question. Have we looked at the water rights close enough to where we don't get in a position like we did with the last agreements we had and somebody come up and say, oh, wait a minute, you owe me 800 and some shares of water out of this package. So we're pretty sure that the
Yes.
water rights we're buying is all of them and,
Yeah,
okay,
yes,
all right.
yeah. And the stuff that you're referring to is water bank rights,
Yeah.
which have always been rights that have been, they're in the name of the district, but there is an underlying agreement, so they're not free and clear. Those were voluntarily submitted to the district, and the titles of those water rights were transferred, but partly to preserve the integrity of the water rights in the basin. Actually,
Canaan water rights will all be transferred into,
the Canaan water rights that we purchased will all be transferred free and clear,
there you go.
like the ones that were transferred free and clear in the original agreement. There was a body of water rights that came in free and clear.
That was 200 some share.
Yeah, when we did
Right.
this program.
Right.
And then there was another body of water rights that came in at that same time into the water bank
Right.
that were voluntarily provided to the district by other owners of the water rights. Those underlying owners still have contractual rights to those, even though the title rights have been transferred to the district. And those are the ones we're talking about that
Yes.
we got into some challenges with.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
How far will this pipeline go when you talk about a certain amount of funds involved in getting that?
So the pipeline goes from just below the springs at Canaan to the million-gallon tank above Cedar Point.
Yeah.
How far is that, Dale, do you know by any chance, roughly?
Boy, I'd say what, Rod, probably half a mile maybe?
No,
As the
no,
crow
it's-
flies?
This one, huh?
No, it's, I was gonna say, just off the top of my head, it's 2 miles and some
Yeah.
change.
Is it that far?
Yeah, I think so.
My crow flies a lot shorter than that.
So
Yeah.
Ron, what size of pipeline are we proposing, you know, yeah?
So yeah, the preliminary estimates are based on 12 and 16-inch pipe.
And what are we thinking on the pipe?
What kind of pipe?
Uh-huh.
We, is that what we're interested in doing?
I guess you can do some fusion pipe, but.
So we had talked about HDPE because it's a transmission pipeline.
Mhm.
But now there are some people that are suggesting that they'd like possibly some connectivity between here and there. And HDPE is not necessarily really set up for that. So I think the estimates are based on HDPE pipe, fused pipe, transmission pipe that wouldn't be reconnected anywhere except at the 2 points. But there is, in terms of the broader planning, there will likely be some other connection points. So we may need to revisit that decision before we get really right down to putting pipe in the ground.
Yeah. The other offsetting thing on this, to me, is the fact that we can have water delivered without running pumps and outages and wearing out equipment, so I mean,
Yeah.
that offsets some of the increased interest.
Yeah, so, yeah, the fact that it gravity flows is a huge benefit to everybody. And the redundancy of source, from those two different sides is a really big benefit too. Just in terms of how we operate our system. And Dale could chime in on that in terms of.
Yes, I'm all in favor for gravity feed. It's gonna save us a lot of dollars in transporting this water to our customers, that's for sure.
Yeah, did you have anything else?
That's all.
At this point, we'll continue to try to get this package closer to a working point. Okay, item 4, Water Superintendent Dale Harris, do you have anything to share for us?
We got the soft start put in between Harold and I and Ross, redoing some valving in well 1. Also, we had some old valves in there, one being a petroleum valve. We're gonna put in a thrust block. Harold's building some brackets to hold some stuff in. We got some sampling changes and some storage and piping size changes that came down in rules in July that I'd like to go over with you folks at some time. But other than that, everything's going fantastic. Got all of the year-end samples all completely in, and everything's good in the water world.
I guess the only thing we have that priority-wise would be to get some concrete on some of those pipes
In the wash.
in the wash that have been scoured out with some of the storms. Okay, thank you, Dale. That's it?
Yeah.
Okay. Tanya, financial report?
This report runs from July through October. We're up 41% of our revenue, our operating expenses. And our total operating expense, it'll be at 41% off. So this report only shows 28%. That's because it hasn't taken into account the depreciation expense amount. So we're running about the same with our revenue and our expenses there. But later on in this, I'll talk about changing our budget numbers and actually having an amended budget hearing here pretty quick so we can make some changes. The non-operating income, we're at 42, almost 43%. And so everything's kind of running in line and doing very well right now. The number of customers we have is 499. Our collection was a lot better this last month. And we still have a few standby accounts that I'm gonna actually have to send out letters to, just because we couldn't send out disconnect notices to them. So I'll send them some letters and make sure they have been notified that their billing is coming from us now. And that's about all I have for the report. The other thing I wanted to talk about was maybe in January or February to have a amended budget hearing so that we can change some of these numbers so they'll be in line with more of our expectations for the year. And there are some line items on here that were not included because at the time we did the budget, we didn't know that I was actually going to start working for the district, and so we need to add line items for me and change some of these out. So I just think in January, February would be good. So if we can just think about that and think up with a date that we can.
Yeah, why don't we tentatively plan on January to go through the amended budget?
Because we could do it with our normal meeting. We don't have to have a separate one.
Yeah, we'll just we'll do that then.
So I had a couple of questions.
Okay.
You have, due from general fund, there's 137,444 from prior year actual, and 98,000 current. What would that be for?
That's what's due from the town.
And then the grants, I noticed we took in 38,000 on a grant. And I saw someplace that we had written a check for that. Did that go out, or does that go into like a checking account, or is that a, PTIF account, or
No,
when we get that in, or is that
no, it came
money
into-
in and money out, or what is
It
it?
came into our checking and it went right out, yes.
Okay. And then, I was over on the, let me find it. Yeah, on page 3. Line item 6040. If that check went out, why does it say zero still? Or $200 in this case. At 30,000. And then on the,
Because,
item
let me
itself, it
answer.
says in suspense as well.
So the 38,000 was actually expensed last year, so it was in last year's budget. So it's not gonna be shown in a line item here.
It's in last, we didn't get the money until August 23rd, if I'm not mistaken.
But we had so in order for us to be able to send the information to the state to get paid for that, we had to write a check for it. So that's why it was expensed last year. But we did not receive the funds until this year.
Okay, all right, I'll chase that down. I just noticed it had suspense on it, and I couldn't figure out why, if it's suspended, it's not in a suspense column.
Where's this, where you have money?
On page number 1 of the check register. That
Oh,
shows Enzyme
yeah.
Engineering, and it says suspense there, but then if you go to professional services, it doesn't have anything there, you got suspense has nothing there. It's
Right,
like,
so-
it's a ghost.
So it's not a ghost, here's what happened. So, Ensign gave us a bill for that, and we, expensed it under Ensign, wrote a check under Ensign, but then it was supposed to go to RM Squared Engineering, but then it was decided it needed to go back to Ensign. So I had to void that check out, and we wrote another check, and we had to bring the money back in and then rewrite it out, is all that happened.
Okay, it all sounds good, I was just trying to figure out why we're writing a check in September or October on these things, yet it's expense last year. Is that just because it was invoiced last year? Is that, is that what is happening? I just want to understand.
Right, so the check was written last year for Ensign,
It
that we
shows
had to
September.
send to the,
It was in our calendar last meeting.
okay, if you just let me finish, please.
Okay, I will.
So, the original check that was written, and we didn't spend a lot of time on this, I can sit with you and tell you exactly what it is. The original check that was written was back in our last budget year, so that we could send to the state the requisition to get the money from them.
Okay,
Okay,
all right, I'll let go.
okay.
Thanks for answering that.
I can sit with you and I can go with it step by step.
Oh, I just noticed on these last 2 reports, and it just looked like this check's getting kited around because
It's
of,
because of voiding.
but I didn't go back that far. I didn't go back last year to see where it was at, so.
Okay.
Anything else? Randy?
No, I'm good.
All right, thank you, Tanya. We'll do the January budget, or the budget adjustments in January. We'll move on to item number 6. I don't know whether it'd be more convenient to, or where we're at on this. We sent all of our books to Ben. Yes, I don't remember, well, there it is. And I don't know if you're prepared to go over those tonight, or my thought was that,
All right.
that if you're ready and Tanya's ready, not being a bookkeeper, I don't know how much is gonna match up, how much isn't. But the idea is to find out where things aren't the same, redline them, and then you and Marty and Tanya and Ross could work them out, or if it's more extensive than that, you and Tanya could switch them back and forth. But I guess the long and the short of it is, do we want to sit down at this table and slide things back and forth and look at them? Or are we comfortable sitting where we're at and doing it? What do you think, Ben?
Yeah,
Let's get around the table, I mean.
Yeah, we're good either way. It's, I haven't seen the numbers from you guys for what you say we are, so. I, have some numbers, but I'm not sure they're your numbers.
Didn't
I
you
sent them to Ben.
send them to Ben, Ben's? So if that's the case, then Ben and you can get together in the next week or so and.
But I'm not seeing that number, what I have.
Just to confirm, is this the spreadsheet we're talking about? That's the most recent file. You may not
That's
have
as of
much
October
more.
31st, yes.
And, what I, help me reconcile this, because I was just asking on that expense report what that $98,000 is, and you're saying that that's what the town owes you, yet what you're asking for is not 98,000. What am I missing?
So what we're asking for is the receipt, $5,900. And then I just showed the link number over here, that's not included in the accounts receivable.
If I may interrupt here for just a second, that's kind of where we wanted to go on the numbers, but before we get into that, this is actually Ross's time that I've asked him to take, so.
That's fine.
If that's fine, I'll just turn the time over to Ross, and then he can take it where he wishes.
So, I think, I have a prepared statement that I'm gonna make, and then at that point, I thought maybe we could get Marty and me and Tanya and your band.
Yes.
Maybe sit at the table, at least get some initial idea where we think we are. Okay, I don't know if it's gonna get resolved tonight, I don't really know where we are, and I don't know if anybody does, but at least we can get to that point to know where we can start, if we need to get this worked out, okay? And so at that point, I think that we'll just, I guess the four of us just go down here to the table, is that all right?
Well, I'm fine with that. Do you want to do the statement first, or we're gonna go table?
I'd like to do the statement right now first, because I think before we can start about, talking about money that's owed the town and vice versa, we need to clarify a few things. So I have a prepared statement. I'm going to read this. There are some handouts. Did you give handouts? Are there handouts as we go along? Oh, these are them? Okay. And Chairman, will you get these as we go through this?
Do you have a charter?
I think you can.
Well, you can just, I'll just tell you when to pass them out if you want.
There's two documents each.
Do you want them now, or?
You can, yeah, you can if you want, and then we'll just refer to them as they go, okay?
Okay.
Okay, before we get on to the working part of this meeting, is what we have scheduled to sit down here and discuss some things, I need to bring the board up to speed on recent events. Mayor, in this meeting, you're wearing two hats. I know you only have one red one on, but you're the mayor and you're also a member of this control board. On 11/9, I met with you, the mayor, as the Human Resource Board member with the approval of Chairman Merritt to determine what can be resolved in respect to the town not paying the Special Service District for water revenues received, and to hear him out on his concerns with the Special Service District in general and his specific concerns with the district personnel and employees. He indicated the town had hired an accountant that was due to come on board November 19th. 2018. We agreed that once up to speed, the differences about monies due to the district would be brought to a public meeting, which is on the agenda tonight, and to be discussed and be hopefully resolved. The mayor also relayed to me a number of items that he was either displeased or upset with. Number one, he was upset over the separation of the town and the district. Number two, he was also upset that Tanya had changed the town from getting money from the district without any notice to the town of that charge. Number three, he said his main concern was that the district was not solvent. Number four, he said there is nepotism going on in the SSD. Number five, he accused Tanya of forging checks and showed me 3 to 4 checks. Number 6, he was upset over the retirement accounts for the SSD employees. After my meeting with the mayor, I had watched the YouTube recording of the October 24th, 2018 Town Council meeting, which I did not attend, and have listed additional items and statements that were made during this meeting regarding the Special Service District. Number 1, the town cannot match numbers with the district. This is the mayor speaking. I haven't said anything that we haven't talked about, right?
Yeah, you're writing down a few things, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay. The town cannot match numbers with the district. Polaris, the accounting program, can't even match. Nathan said he used a spreadsheet in order to reconcile. The mayor then evolved into a history of 6 years. He said that 2015 was the first time when the SSD even bought stamps. The town was funding the SSD. Number 2, we, the town, have an agreement that the town keeps late fees. Number 3, the SSD told him we're going to separate because of late fees. And from March 2018 to now, and I think that's meaning October 2018 due to this meeting, there was $41,500 of late fees and standby fees. Number 4, the SSD incurred $1,000 of non-sufficient fund charges. Number 5, there was an interlocal agreement dated March of 2015 that covered this. Number 6, there was no meeting with the SSD board and the town regarding this. One person changed the policy, and I believe he was referring to Tanya. Number 7, he invited and discussed the situation with a young couple that were not happy with impact fees not being transferable from a current owner to a new buyer, and I think this is the Rich Losowski situation. The mayor said, and I quote, "Decisions have created the separation." Number 9, the mayor discussed financial items including the restructuring of the existing SSD loan and other items about the water company, the SSD. Okay, so before we begin to the work meeting again, we need to review the reason that the Big Plains Water and Special Service District is even in existence. The SSD was conceived and created by the town of Apple Valley. Will you make sure they have our the document, charter of creation?
Yeah, we got it.
Okay. The
Anybody
town
else?
council passed a resolution signed by Mayor Moser 1st of September 2011. You, the town, determined the structure of the water district.
That go with each one.
You, the town, determined the structure of the water district and chose the structure of the special service district, chartered by the state of Utah and regulated and overseen by the state of Utah. The certificate of creation is signed by Lieutenant Governor Greg Bell, 1st of September 2011. The town did not choose to create a local water district that would be an appendage to our department of the town, or to be overseen by the town. You, and I'm talking to you, Mayor, I'm talking to you as the mayor, even though you're a member of this council, the town created a special service district, a completely separate entity vested with the power and authority to act on its own. Section 3, if you have the creation document in your hand, reads, "The district shall have and exercise through its proper officers all of the rights, powers, and authorities conferred upon special service districts by and included in the act and is otherwise provided by law for the purposes as herein provided." Section 6 of the State of Utah creation document states, "The district shall be administered by an administrative control board, which is hereby delegated the power to act as the governing authority of the district and shall have, and it is hereby vested with all of the powers, duties, and responsibilities conferred upon such governing authority by the act, and all laws amendatory and supplemental thereof and implemented by this resolution." The SSD is operated by its administrative control board, which is us, not the town, nor intermingled with the town. The membership of the board is defined in Section 7 of that creation document by the state of Utah. The membership of the board shall consist of 5 members as follows: the mayor of Apple Valley, 1 elected official from Apple Valley, who shall be appointed by the mayor of Apple Valley and 3 board members who are registered voters within the boundary of the district, who shall be appointed by the mayor of Apple Valley. After reviewing our certificate of creation issued and signed by the state of Utah, I am concerned that although Chairman Merritt has attempted to operate this SSD as it was set up by you, the town, and as we are chartered to do, we are not operating correctly or legally. There has been continual contention between the town and the SSD through 3 mayors. Maybe it's a lack of understanding of what they created, the town. I have located 2 interlocal agreements. And you have this copies in front of you. The first is dated January 12, 2012, signed by the town mayor, Moser, and by Denny Bass, who was then the chairman of this control board. The second is dated the 4th of June, 2015, and is very similar. In the recitals, it states, whereas the town, pursuant to Utah law, caused the creation of the district. The town created us, okay? Caused the creation of the district in order to provide for water and sewerage services within the town. Section 1 of this agreement was and is an open-ended agreement, and there are no provisions for shared employees, how to track hours, work on behalf of the town and the district. Section 6 in this agreement says this agreement is to be administered by the mayor and the chairman of the SSD board. Recent attempts by Chairman Merritt were rebuffed by the last 2 mayors to work out an agreement. Number 7, the town council and the SSD board both need to approve. I have found nothing in previous SSD meetings where this was discussed or approved, either one. To ex-chairman Bass, did you understand how we were set up when you were the chairman? Did you understand we were separate and
No.
No?
No.
Okay. And
We formed the SSD, but it's also controlled by the town. So we work with
Exactly.
The town.
Exactly.
The town, not just separate SSD.
Exactly.
The town.
That's right, and that was illegal. It wasn't the way
Well,
we
it
were
wasn't
set up.
illegal.
Yes, it is. Okay, section 11, we're reading it. Read it, take this home and read it then. Both the town and the district also warrant that each governing body has taken action to approve any agreements between the town and the district. Okay, once the chairman and the mayor have worked out details of an agreement, then it has to be passed in public by both parties. There is nothing that I found in the minutes of our meeting going back where this was ever approved. So we've just been operating illegally. If there are any questions about how the district is structured and how we are to operate and under what legal authority, you can contact the state. Mr. LeGrand Bitters, Executive Director of the Utah Association of the Special Districts, 801-614-0405. And this will be on the record so anybody can have access to it. Okay, I'd like to return now to the comments that we started and give a brief response. The mayor was upset over the separation of the town and the district. The district was created as a separate entity by the town. It was always separate, other than when operated incorrectly and illegally, and by law should be operated separately. Number 2, the mayor was also...
Are we going to comment?
No, at the end, you can say, yeah.
Okay.
The mayor was also upset that Tanya changed the town from getting money from the district. There was never any agreement that was administered by the mayor and the chairman per section 6 of the January 1, 2011 interlocal agreement, and as per section 7 and 11 requiring approval and passages by both entities in public. Number 3, the mayor said his main concern was that the district was not solvent. The district is solvent and will be current on all financial obligations by the end of the year. The mayor said there is nepotism going on in the SSD. The SSD hired Tanya as a temporary employee and then advertised the position as prescribed by law. We received 2 respondents that were not qualified for the position. Their resumes were admitted into public record. We then hired Tanya to the full-time position. Number 5, the mayor accused Tanya of forging checks. Tanya denies this. The checks were made payable to vendors. There was no theft or deceit on Tanya's part, and the checks that I was shown had gone to the correct vendors. Number 5, the mayor was upset over the retirement accounts for SSD employees. The retirement for the SSD employees was initiated by the town and carried over when both Dale and Tanya became sole employees of the SSD. Before 2015, Dale Harris received a paycheck from the town and a paycheck from the district, and was paid based on his work hours from each entity. The town, under Mayor Moser, changed Dale from hourly to salary and placed him under the town. He was given a retirement account by Mayor Moser, and the town council voted unanimously to, quote, give Dale his benefits. This move was a violation of the SSD charter because we should have been the ones to hear it and approve it and muddy the line between the town and the SSD. After the meeting, the things that I watched on YouTube, number one, you said the town cannot match numbers with the district. Tanya has found a discrepancy in Nathan's spreadsheet, and you've sent that to their accountant, right? I think the numbers are closer. The mayor then evolved into a history of 6 years. He said that 2015 was the first time when the SSD even bought stamps. The town was funding the SSD. I have the history of billing from the town to the SSD here. I'd like to go over a few of those things. In fact, let's just do that. This starts back in March of 2012 and goes, I think it's December, maybe June, August of 2018. Okay, in this billing history from the town, starting in August of 2015 is when I think Dale was moved over from a two-employer person to salary by the town. At that point, the town began billing the SSD $5,970 a month and continued that for 11 months. All the same number. Then the town changed that in August, well, that was really the July one, to $6,880 and did that for 13 months. And then the town changed it to $7,320 for the next 6 months. This number is supposed to be half of Dale's salary, right? On the agreement, when you went over there, half of your salary would be paid by the SSD and half by the town. You're making a lot of money, guy. If we're paying $7,000 a month, have you got a yacht?
Not yet.
Anyway,
That's an uncomfortable
this
statement.
that number does include, if you look on the numbers, and there's checks accounted for every one of these, right? Okay, let's look at one of these 70. Let's see, let's go to the last one. $7,320. $1,900.50 was clerical, so that would be for Nathan and Marie. So they spent almost $2,000 a month for the SSD, and then you were at $4,500, Dale. My problem, I know that we owe the town. There's no dispute there. But again, we were not operating legally because we, as the control board of this SSD, should be monitoring that. How many hours did Dale actually work doing SSA business? Was he doing half of it? Was he doing 20% of it? And so there was no accountability that we're required as this board under law. Okay, the next one, we the town have an agreement that keeps the town late fees and standby fees. I find no record, I find no discussion by the SSD in a public meeting, I find no resolution by the SSD control board that authorizes this. Without that, we shouldn't be doing it. We're illegal doing it that way. Number 3, the SSD told the mayor we're going to separate because of late fees. Okay? This is an untrue statement. We as the SSD was created as a separate entity by you, the town. Number 4, the SSD incurred $1,000 of non-sufficient fund charges. I hadn't researched that, but it was brought to my attention that the town has never bounced, the SSD has never bounced a check. These are returned checks from water customers, and the SSD charges a $25 fee for returned checks. I guess, did the town get that? Who was managing that account?
I don't know where those
But anyway, that's,
facilities came.
okay. Let's see, number 5, there was an interlocal agreement that covered the town keeping these fees. There's no mention in the town keeping late fees, no public action by the SSD control board approving the same. I asked the mayor for a copy of the interlocal agreement, and the one that I received was regarding water supplied to the district for this building and the lawns. There was no meeting on the SSD board. One person changed the policy, okay? There was no need for a meeting regarding this change. In the little manual for local and special service districts, and this is the manual when we are required to be trained within 1 year. Once you are on this board, this is the manual that we're given. The little manual for local and special service districts, revised April 2018, comes from the Office of the State Auditor, okay? In this manual, on page 16, under accounting, all money coming into the district should be deposited into the district bank account and recorded in the accounting records. The money should not trickle through the town to the district. The state mandated separation of the town and the district means less cost to both entities because it eliminates the need for each entity to reconcile. It reduces our bookkeeping costs. Number 7, the mayor invited to the October town council meeting to discuss the situation with a young couple that were not happy with the impact fees not being transferable from a current new buyer. Okay, and this is, I think this is in our minutes for today's meeting. This is an SSD issue, and it should only be brought up in an SSD meeting. The issue had come before the board in a scheduled public meeting. We referred to our attorney to see if it could be improved to reduce unintended consequences. Number 8, the mayor said decisions have created the separation. This is not true. The town chose to and created the SSD as a separate and distinct entity from the beginning. Number 9, the mayor discussed financial items including the restructuring of existing loans the SSD has and other items about the water company. These items are not town business. These items are discussed in an SSD board meeting, of which 2 of the members of the SSD board are the town council. Comments?
Nice try.
Okay.
Nice try. If you don't mind, hand me a list, I'll go for them one by one. Okay? First off, there's multiple mentions in there of separating from the SSD and the town. I think there's, the way you're using that is you're demonstrating that there's always been separation. It's never my intent when I said that I'm talking about separating like we're one unit. I was only talking about, it's regarding the billing and the building. That's what I was talking about. I was talking about you having personnel, and we used to share personnel to save cost. That's the separation I'm talking about. I'm not talking about that all of a sudden you guys want to be on your own and you always have been. I'm not talking about that kind of separation. I'm only talking about that you guys want to leave the building, separate the building, which makes it harder for everybody else.
We
out
did
there.
not. I'm sorry, Mayor, we did not ask to leave this building, and you know that.
No, let's just handle that one right now, because I know Harold Merritt made a mention to Ben last night about that exact thing. And I was like, does he not remember that meeting when I came in? I'll tell you what happened so everybody understands. I was pretty upset about paying $9,000 a month for our bookkeeping. That's what they were billing us. And I was upset about it. And then said that we never agreed to all this overtime and paying benefits and all these different things. I was a new mayor. I was like, what, 2 days in, 3 days in, I'm learning a lot. So,
Wait, can I say something
anyway,
before you
I'm
go
talking
on?
right now.
No,
I'm talking right now.
no, you said something, I need to talk about it. Mayor,
So I
please.
can't interrupt him, but you can interrupt me? Let's get this out, and then you
I
can correct
think
me.
if we're gonna talk about truth here, you need to hear what I have to say. It's not fair for you to put on YouTube and everybody in this town lies about me.
I did not lie about
You
that.
did.
You gave me
Well,
a
you
bill,
did.
$9,000.
Who staged
True
it?
story. And I don't have it right here, but I have it in black and white. Anyway, so when I had that kind of a bill, I thought this is not sustainable. And I was upset over the overtime on there, that why are we having so much overtime? We didn't agree to pay in overtime, we have a contract labor. So this is what I'm upset about in this moment.
No, it
And I
was
s-
not contract labor.
Can you let me finish this? I'll fix
I
this
don't
for
think we
you.
even need to go, let's
No,
go.
let's just, you
No, let's let it go.
threw all this out. Now I get to answer it.
Okay.
And that's only fair, and if you guys let me get this out, I'll explain where my thinking was and where it is. Now, everybody just let me get it out,
Okay, carry on.
all right? And so I was upset at this stuff. And as a mayor, I was pissed. I says, you guys might have to find another place to, have an office. I walked out the door, I thought about that night, and I came back in and says, okay, here's what I can live with. So I had a second thought about it, and I said, this is what I can live with. You guys buy the stamps, you buy the envelopes, we'll help you do this, we'll do that. I'll work out the office, I'll figure it out. That's exactly how it went. So yeah, I was pissed that night, and I said, you better find an office. The next morning I says, okay, can we talk? And this is how I wanted to try and fix it. I wanted to try and mend it. So you can have your late fees. And I said, we'll even throw in the labor to stuff the envelopes. You guys do your building part of it, and we'll stuff the envelopes. We're using one envelope or 2 letters that go out in the same thing, and I'll work out the office. That's exactly what I said. And what did Tanya say? We're moving. We're leaving. And Harold was there in that meeting as well. Am I not telling you the truth right now?
I think that's as close as we're gonna get, because it was, basically, that was the conversation, that we couldn't get together on things, and that it would be best if we found another place to go. And so we did.
As far as the,
Well, not to interject anymore, I'll listen and we'll go on with Mayor.
the checks, I did not say that Tanya signed them. I said that she's probably the person that had the opportunity, that we did have some questionable checks. I did never say that Tanya signed these. I never said that. I just said that I have to, and you were there when we were talking to the attorney.
Sean and you and I were sitting here, if you wanna open that up, and you said.
That's fine, you can open it up.
You said that I think she signed these.
I said she's the one person that probably had the opportunity. I can't say for sure that she signed them, and I said that I'm sure she'll deny it, and.
However it was phrased, that was the.
But anyway, I never accused her of that. The building history on the town, I don't know, Robert Campbell, if he wants to comment on this, but on the percentages, I understand from past conversation that there was, Dale was working significantly more for the SSD than the town, and that's why that amount would be different, where they were paying more. Is that not the case, or Dale's shaking his head? You can feel free.
That's not the
to speak
case.
up.
I spent about 85% of my time working town hours, with the SSD actually giving the money for those hours, straight up.
Well, I can say this much, during the first part of the year,
Okay, let me-
we had well.
Yeah, hold on. This is not an open meeting, Mayor. This is a public meeting, okay? And I respect what you have to say, ex-Mayor Campbell, but.
Well, let's think through what we have to say then.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want all this on YouTube, because
No,
then everybody could
no,
get
but
the
we
facts
don't
out.
want to
That would
spend
be-
an
that
hour
would be
here.
bad.
What I would like to do is let's go down here to this table and find out where you guys think you are and where we think we are. That was the purpose.
I'd like to
of
address
work meeting.
the late fees, because, that's the big difference on it, and that's one of those accusations you have. And you say that this was never passed. That isn't my fault, that's not your fault. You weren't on the board. These two were on the board.
Right.
And these two knew that that was going on the whole time, And we have a history of how many years of billing that shows that those late
Not
fees were
on
taken.
regular, I agree 100%.
And I want to go on to say that the reason that the interlocal agreement did not include the personnel is because we were taking those late fees to help pay for the personnel. There was processing those payments, there was answering the phones for you guys, and there's also a dollar amount for the actual charges for Express Pay. And that comes out thousands of dollars.
But if you were
as well.
taking the late fees, then why were we getting billed these numbers here each month? I mean, you shouldn't have it both ways anyway, and it shouldn't have happened without this coming before.
Internet, telephone, building, lights.
That's all on you.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. That's where
Chairman,
it is.
can I interject a thought here, gentlemen? I don't think the wire that's under the bridge is gonna do us any good other than busting. Let's let some of this stuff go and try to have a good night's sleep. I am tired of, I moved to this town 30 years ago, and I hate the hate and discontent that's going on. I would do anything to keep the peace in this town. I've worked on this board and made a lot of mistakes, none of them intentional. I've been here for 6 to 7 years trying to get it together. And it's one train wreck after another. Some are legitimate, some are expanded. I would like to sit down and say, this is where the money is, this is where we're making mistakes, let's not do that anymore, and get this thing on a course that everybody can live with and everybody is happy with.
Like
I think we're all good friends, we're all neighbors, we live in the same town. There's gotta be a way to make this work. And I dreaded this night.
I feel you.
We all, I did
do.
too. I did too.
But I do have a statement as well that I'd like to make. And if you can indulge me in 2 or 3 minutes, I'd like to express a couple of things. And it won't be around late fees. I was asked to be mayor of this town, and along with that came some responsibility. And when I took that title on, I became your mayor too, Neil, and Ross, I became your mayor. And what I also feel like that I did at that time is to realize that there are some problems in the town as far as money goes. And I felt like it's my duty as your mayor to take care of those. And I want to bring up Amanda Walker. She was our accountant for a short time. Most of you know the story on Amanda. And when Amanda decided to steal a check that was meant for a vendor and run it through her own bank account of about $1,100, that as your mayor, what would you have me do? If someone's stealing money from the town, what do you want me to do about it?
Turn it over, whatever it takes.
That's what I feel like. And so when I get a bill that's $8,000 from you guys, and then a week later it's $20,000, and in this meeting it's now $98,000, which bill do I pay? And that's, and this moving target is what I've been dealing with for 2 months on this moving target. It's not like, here's your bill, you know, and I can go through it and verify it and pay it. I mean, that's how we do a cable bill at home, satellite bill, you know, and propane bill comes tell you to pay this amount. You know, how often do we have to deal with, you know, this moving target of, holy crap, where did that come from? Kind of a number.
Not to interrupt, Mayor, but that's my point,
But this is my job, is what I'm trying to say. This is what I wanted to say, is this is my job to protect the townspeople from anything that I think is inappropriate. That's what you have me here for.
And it's your job to be a member of this control board.
I am a member of the control board.
To help move this.
And now that you want to bring that one up, I'll bring this up, because it's also my job as mayor and on this control board to bring back to the town information that's going on.
You are the liaison.
That's my job.
But not on their agenda.
Oh, why not? Where else would I bring it? How else would I say it to the people? This is what's going on at the water board, in case you guys didn't miss it. That's my job.
Well, let's go back to the Rich Osowski thing though. We can handle that. In fact, I can read the minutes for tonight that we're going to approve. Okay?
Well, before you do that, I'll just educate you that someone walked in the office that day And he says, this is what's going on. I says, we're gonna be talking about that tonight. He drove here, he's right here in the front row. He drove 6 hours from northern Salt Lake City to get an answer tonight on this. And he's in our meeting again
Right,
tonight.
yeah.
May I take a moment again? Our attorney, Ben Roosh, is right here. I don't know where he's at on that issue. Could you take it for a minute? or-
We're talking about the standby fee, the transferability.
Yes.
It's still under review. I wasn't aware that I was gonna need to
Yeah, we
address
didn't-
that tonight, but.
So that's where we're at on that. We'll work our way through. What we want to do is get it right and get it over. And so,
Well, Chairman, I just want to read these minutes. Rich Sosowski read a statement regarding new standby fee policy submitted to the board. He stated he did not expect any answers, just wanted the board to look it over. Chairman Merritt stated the intent is not to harm anyone. The board will have legal look at it with hope of having answers in 30 days. Board member Marty felt was punishing those who have been paying $29. Anyway, we had addressed this and you had it in our water meeting. And then it went to the town council in a negative thing where you had these people drive in. It felt to me, truthfully, it felt like showboating. We were dealing with this. We just got a new attorney.
I agree with you.
You know,
I
and
agree
we
with
need
you
to work,
because
that's your part of being a board. We want to be friends and work together as a team. Hell, I've been out here in the trenches with Dale under the buildings.
Well, hold on a second. You're going a little far there. Working
Okay,
together-
I wasn't there, Dale.
Working together as a team, I know you guys have been on the phone with each other, collaborating this event, and I didn't get a single phone call. So this is not the way a team works. This is us against you, and that's the reality is I'm looking out for the town, you guys are looking out for yourself.
I
No.
asked for peace and a truce 10 minutes ago, and we got another fight going already.
Exactly.
So, if we could not make it about ourselves and try to get to the facts and figures,
Well, do we want to do something with the accountant here and have
I
him
think we
initially?
do. I think we need to lay them
Are
out.
you prepared to say?
I think at this point, the primary argument is late fees. Tanya and I even sent my numbers to Tanya, we're aligning pretty close. I mean, I think what we're talking about here is finance charges going back 5 years. I mean, we can nitpick, there's some numbers, there's some journal entries that we have questions about, but at the end of the day, I think what we need to resolve is finance charges.
I think the financial people should be able, Tanya and Ben, to be able to bring this close enough that a reasonable person can say, okay, let's do it, that's it, that's fine. I have faith in both of them that they can come together on that. I appreciate Ben being blindsided by this. He knew that this, when you go into a law office, if you haven't been there, you don't step to the front of the line, unfortunately. And so we dumped a bunch of stuff on him,
I
and,
think he just got thrown under the bus.
and so, indicating that it isn't entirely his fault, we gave him a laundry list of things to do.
Plus, I was just called to be a bishop, so, in the Hurricane West State, so that adds to the list as well.
Time-consuming little project.
But I'm happy to help, we can get to the bottom of it.
But again, I don't know how this is gonna work out, but my heartfelt plea is that we all give and take a little bit. There isn't enough money here to be a major issue that we can't resolve. As far as a $12,000 impact fee, $12,000 is a lot of money. But I might indicate that the service district is spending millions of dollars providing state quality water to every tap in town. We have plenty of water for firefighting. We don't fail state tests. You've got all the water you want, and we spend a fortune on keeping it that way, and we're trying to finagle a way to get gravity-fed spring water into Canaan, so whether the power's on or off, the taps will work. We're constantly trying to massage this thing to make it work. I don't get a nickel out of it. And so, I don't have a dog in this fight. I'm just trying to make it work. And I think that's the same with everybody that's up here. So if we've got an issue, let's somehow try to work it out. As far as Ben's comments, if he's happy, and Tanya's happy with working together separately, or if they want to do it now. Tanya, what's your thought on it? Could you and Ben email each other? And
Like you said, you know, with what's due us right now for the receipts, he says he's pretty close to what my numbers are. I think that's fine. I still think the issue is the,
Overbilling of late charges.
not the overbilling. It's the uncollected
Yeah.
late charges.
well, let's attack that. To not attack is a bad choice of words. Let's approach this situation at a later date and deal with what we have on the table now. And the things that are on the table are the mechanics of how the board operates. Make sure everything that comes up that people are interested in.
Well, there's one other issue on the table. So if you want to dismiss this for right now, I'm all right with that. But the other issue on the table is that some of the numbers that we have that are supporting some of these late fees were entered into the computer as a journal entry. And so what that means to everybody out there is that someone went into the computer but entered in the date of June 30th of 17 and June 30th of 18, a total of $58,000 as a journal entry. Now, these are closed books that have been audited. And it sounds like that she's saying that she did that, is that right? Or I
Yes,
see you
the
shaking your
June
head.
30th was an adjusting entry that the auditors know about and was done, and we did it the way they said to do it.
On
June 30th, you have not completed that financial survey yet.
Yeah, the June 30th that I'm speaking of, McKay at Hindenburg, who is not aware of, and he's saying that.
He is aware. We can have a conversation
Okay.
on this. He is fully aware of that.
All right. Okay. There's 4 of them that anyway that were made, and so it was just, the timing is interesting at September 10th, just before you leave, that these journal entries that actually increase how much we owe the district, well, were all of a sudden changed on closed books. And these
They
are
were
audited
not
books.
closed.
Yeah,
They were not closed.
the 17? You're saying in 18?
It was an
and not-
adjusting entry to the prior year.
No, I'm
Whether
talking
it's
about-
closed or not, it's an adjusting entry for the prior year.
June 30th of 17.
Correct.
Was closed and audited.
Correct. We made an adjusting entry on that for this year, for the 2018 fiscal year.
Well,
You-
I will call
you need to
McKay
talk
again
to
and I will
McKay.
ask him again about it, because
Correct.
we're talking to him about this and he was shocked and says this is not a good idea, because those books have been closed, they've been submitted to the auditor and IRS. And now we have to open all that back up if there's been an entry that's made on it. Well, we'll address that. So,
You're incorrect. 'Cause
I'm
McKay-
correct in what I
McKay
talked,
knows and
I'm
fully
correct in
agree-
that I had a conversation with him about it. You weren't there then, but I'm not saying that you're not wrong on this, I'm just trying to say that this
Just
is.
so that we're on the same page with that third entry. So that was booked on September 10th of 2018?
Yes.
For the
That
period,
was
for the
in-
fiscal year of
Correct.
2017?
Correct. It's an adjusting entry to the prior year
That-
because of the audit that was done this for 2018.
So financials, audited financials, they would have to go through the town council.
And we never got there because I was taken out from being the person who was doing the financials. I did what I could do all the way up until I was taken out of that position.
Well, I might make a suggestion as chair that we resolve this issue as soon as possible. I really am at a loss as to where to go because there are a number of issues. I think we all need to do some homework on how the meetings are constructed. I don't like the contention. I don't think anybody does. It's got to come to a screeching halt, or it's gonna get worse and worse and worse. And it's just not good for anybody. So anybody have any suggestions that they would like to make? If not, I think we've opened the books. We will leave it up to the bookkeepers. We'd like to get this resolved with the late entry. Is anybody making any accusations that any money is missing? Or it was just mishandled?
It was just aggressively billed from the town, like even this 98,000, how do you have that on the books that we owe you 98,000 when you're giving me a bill that says 30,000?
No, all that's showing on that reconciliation is the receipts plus the finance charges. That's all that was on there. The accounts receivable.
But what you're giving me
the
here
accounts
doesn't have that.
receivable.
It just does not match that.
It does not have the accounts receivable amount on there. All it's showing there are the money that you collected.
How would I know what to write a check for? Is what you're telling me is
The 5,000.
in one place you're telling me it's 98,000, and here it's 5,000.
So on the books, it's 98,000 right there. That's the collected receipts. The accounts receivable are not collected
Just
yet.
unpaid receipts then.
Correct.
Well, what, could we,
Unpaid receivable.
okay, could the two accountants work together and see if we can get, I mean, we know there's issues, you know, right, on some things, but as far as the billing, the receipts from water stuff and all that, is that what you're talking about? And get whatever we
We're
can match
okay on
up?
water sales,
Like-
we're okay on that, and we're okay to write a check on that stuff. What we're apart on is the $20,000
Okay.
you guys owe us.
Let's narrow down what your issues are, and whatever, and then maybe we can sit down with you and,
Mine's just the
Ben,
way things
if
up
you-
till September.
You
What's
and
that?
Tanya would boil this down to where you feel you've gotten it as far as you can get it, then run it by me and by the mayor, and maybe we can bring this to an end.
So I heard Tanya mentioned a number of 5,000. On the spreadsheet that indicates late fees that were
I wasn't.
I know.
obtained in 2018, and then forgetting about are you planning to continue to pursue the late fees that were?
I think that's for the
Retained.
board to worry
that's what we
about.
talked about,
Prior?
yeah.
Yeah, that's for the board to decide.
That's what they'll have to
We're-
That's what I'm saying is if we get together, there's
We're
a
not gonna
dis-
do the late fees. They're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about what's owed to us by receipts, what's been collected.
Okay.
Sit down and work it
I
out.
can't believe it, we got two people agreeing. Okay, you get together and disagree, but. Fine.
Well, I don't know. It's-
If we can talk about it and work about it, I'm happy to do whatever it takes to have happen. I asked Ben to be here so he could offer some suggestions. He hasn't ever been initiated to Apple Valley meetings before, and so I thought this would be a good one to start on.
That's a good one to start on.
They're not gonna be able to.
Thank you.
If you can work outside the meeting, but that's what we're part of.
If we could give them a couple of days.
I will comment as the district's attorney that some of this may be resolved in, typically legal disputes or discussion on legal disputes is resolved in a closed meeting, in a closed session. It's probably good to have some good discussion with an open meeting, but any final action, you need to talk as a board and then in a closed session.
If the mayor and I come to a decision between ourselves, does that have to be in a closed meeting announced, or can that be just announced at a service?
As long as you're not
district?
violating any open meeting laws, doing it.
Have the discussion, but you can't do the actions. You'll
Yeah.
have to take- The actions have to come here.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll decide what we're gonna say, and then we'll come to meetings.
I think if you agree on what you got, then turn around and have it ready for the next meeting and get it solved.
We're not that far apart.
You know.
Okay, success.
Anybody else wanna, I'm thinking tomatoes are coming pretty quick, I'm trying to keep my eyes open, but, the long and the short of it is, is that, and I take responsibility for things that have happened over the past 6 years that weren't brought before the board, decisions I've made, probably shouldn't have made, should have brought it to the board. I think the same decision would have been made, maybe not. But the point is that we're gonna try to tighten up the ship so everybody is aware of everything that's going on. If anybody has a question, they should feel free to call a member of the board or clerk or whoever and ask some questions, and we'll try to do the best we possibly can. Again, with the impact fee, we could have said, okay, we're gonna do this, that, and the other, but we felt that seeking legal counsel was the appropriate way to go. And so we'll try to seek legal counsel whenever it's a gray area or we don't feel comfortable with it, and do that. There's some other things on the agenda, but we've been here a while. Do you want to go through the rest of the agenda, or do you want to call it a night?
I want one thing said here, for Harold and my behalf. We have talked to an attorney more times the last 6 years on problems with the special service district. Some of it might not show on the books, but we did get advice from an attorney.
Well, and you can't show that because that's legal
Right.
advice.
Right.
So,
That's what I
attorney-client
wanna
privilege comes into
emphasize,
that.
Ross, do you have anything else you'd like to bring up?
No, I have had enough.
Well, I think we can do the
Sounds good to
bookkeeping thing, and the mayor and I can discuss some of this, and then we can be diligent in what we do, and as members of the community, if we've got an issue with our neighbor, let's talk to him about it. If you have something with the water board or the town council, go talk to him about it. I get phone calls all the time, and I'm sure all the people here do, about things that aren't quite right in the town that I don't have any control over. And so I tell them that, and all of a sudden I made an enemy by telling them the truth. I could have spun a tail and they'd come back 6 months later. So we just try to do the best we can. And if we all do it as a community, I think we'll be a better place. Mayor, anything you'd like to add?
Nope.
Okay, I think we'll bring this meeting to a close.
I make a motion to that effect, this meeting be closed, and all any other problems come up will be next week, our next meeting.
Okay, last second.
Second.
You may wanna table the remaining agenda items.
Yeah, you
for
have to
next time.
continue that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Table
amend your,
your-
Make a motion
I
to
think
table
he was
the
getting
I
there.
make a motion we table
rest of
Continue.
the
it.
agenda.
the rest of the agenda for future meeting, and if problems come up for that meeting.
I second.
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you.
And we're gonna adjourn. I make a motion to get another meeting.
Second. I second.
Aye.
Aye.
Water board's gotta go.
Yeah, it's a one-man show. I grew up over I started a brewery. Yeah, it's the first time in my whole life. I'm 30 years old. Everybody